Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Nullified Tech channel here on YouTube, where we've got the TNT takes for you on the recent episode of Traitors US. And ladies and gentlemen, and everyone, my name is Maki Hope, and I'll be your host for tonight. As unfortunately, Chris has got a bit too many things to do, but we are gladly joined back by one of the true legends of the Nullified Take. You know, every time he opens his mouth, you just want to laugh, you just want to cry, you just want to immerse in every tiny thing he says. Ladies and gentlemen, he's the great, he's the wonderful, he's the amazing Big Kahuna! Kahuna, how are you?
Maki! Doing good, sir. Doing very good, mate. I'm glad to be back on the Traders after missing last week because we had a hell of an episode this week, man. It was a great episode.
It was a juicy episode, and not just an orange juicy, it was a bananas juicy episode without the bananas, right? It was such a great episode. A lot of chaos is happening, and I'm looking forward to breaking it down with you tonight, Kahuna.
Absolutely. I always look forward to it. Of course, we have the people in the chat.
Yes, let's say a quick hello. Lovable Nikki, hello. Hope you're doing amazing. Snuff finally made it live to breakfast. You love that, brother. Love that. Erin, hello. Where's Chris? So unfortunately, Chris has got a lot to do with work at the moment. So
real life got in the way.
Yeah, like how dare he, right? How dare he, Kahuna? You know, like we're putting our hearts and souls into this, right? And what's Chris doing? You know, he's just wandering off. He's like, "Nah, guys,
he's keeping the lights on. He's keeping the lights on. It's important." Work comes first, unfortunately.
Yeah. Hello, lovable Nikki, and how are you, Kahuna Maki? How are you doing, Kahuna? Obviously, last week you were pretty sick. How are you doing now?
Yeah, doing well, man. Doing good. Recovered. Just loving life. There's always a lot going on in the Nullified Take. I think we did 4 podcasts this last week. So
yeah,
and then we did our own thing with the
yes.
Bigfoot and cryptids discussion, which we're gonna have part 2 of at some point soon, I'm sure. But yeah, we got a lot to get onto tonight for the Traders. Episode 5 was a hell of an episode, man.
It really was. So, you know, who was it that got murdered? Who'd got murdered in the previous episode again? I was thinking Ikensu, but then I realized that was the episode before. Yeah, my brain's just gone blank. No, but anyways, yeah, we come into the breakfast table and whatnot, and immediately with this episode, Kahuna, I was quite worried for Dan because we've been hearing in the past few episodes he's not really giving a name, he's not really saying a name, and he's still not sharing any name. Like I think it was CT. He asked Dan, "Have you got any?" It was Tamara. Thank you, Blood Money. Yeah, it was Tamara. That's right. It was Tamara. And we even see for breakfast, CT asked Dan, have you got any names or anyone you're suspicions of? And he's just saying, nah. Like, what's your thoughts on Dan so far and the game he's playing?
I feel like his time is running out and he's on borrowed time. This he can certainly get himself out of it. I don't know. I feel like he's kind of painted himself into a corner here by making it almost seem obvious that it's him. Like Larsa called early that it seemed like there's a pattern to it, that there's a male taking out strong male competitors. Yeah. And he's almost laid out the cookie crumbs. And someone was saying there has to be at least one male in the group, at least one, playing the averages, playing the odds. And yeah, it seems to be closing in around him anyways. It feels like the net is getting tighter. What do you think?
Yeah, it's really hard being in Dan's position, right? Because when you think of who are the original traders that are going to be picked, like there's a scene where Mad Dog Pilot Pete, which I'd love to talk about him a bit later on, but he's with Kevin, he's with Bergie, he's with John, and he's like, guys, it's pretty obvious, like we're not the male trader, right? Why on earth would they pick us first? Whereas you got Dan, you got Bananas, you got CT and whatnot. So I think they're really starting to look at it from a wider perspective, right? Obviously, they're going to want like some reality stars, like competitive reality stars, like a Survivor, a Big Brother, or even like someone from the challenge to be part of the original Traitors, right?
Yeah,
I think that's what everyone's sense of logic is, where if it's not Dan, then it'll have to be a CT. So I guess that's where something like a Bananas would have really helped out Dan in this scenario, because Bananas, I haven't really seen him in other shows, but from what I know, he is like a gamer and he is like a big player as well. So he's something
absolutely. Yeah.
that could help Dan escape.
Yeah, I mean, Dan's making the logical move, right? Like, I feel like
Yeah,
he's a smart game.
yeah,
By being smart and logical, it feels like it's leaving a trail. Like
yes,
there's, like, you know what I mean? There's a signature there because it isn't completely random and doesn't make like it's leaving a signature that seems to be pointing to him, and then he backs that up with his, "Oh, I'm just a quiet dude. I don't really talk much," which apparently in this season of the Traders is, "Oh, you must, equals bad if you
mm,
don't talk." And that's like, I know that's what Chris always says about this game. It feels like it's so much up to luck, but that balance, that delicate balance between being too out in front and
yeah,
saying too much, and then being too quiet. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. A comment tip I love for Nikki. Dan is playing a smart game. Kahuna, please.
I mean, like,
Welcome
he
to
thinks
Kahuna.
he's making the right moves. He's trying to be strategic about his choices and stuff
Yeah,
like that. I don't mean, yeah. Obviously, it's not smart because he's leaving that trail. Like, people are
mm,
busting him, but I do think that that's his mind. Like, that's what he's trying to do by taking out Bananas, by taking out Marcus, who called him out. Like, he thinks he's doing the right thing
mm,
as far as he goes. Yeah.
yeah. Nah, it's even when like Janelle like started calling him out in the round table, I was thinking that Dan surely is gone now. Because like he
Mm.
couldn't even give a name at the round table, and then the one name he did give was like the person who was accusing him of being a traitor. It's like, I don't know, because how does Dan get out of this scenario, Kahana? Like, if you're Dan, what do you do?
He has to give up one of the other traders.
He does, yeah,
Yeah. And I
and
feel
I
like the better one would unfortunately have to be I know his logic originally was Phaedra is too hidden. If we give her up as a trader, um like, that'll help us a lot because
mm,
there's no way people are picking her before us as a trader, right? Which
yeah,
makes sense. But I feel like now, with that mindset of what you just said, they kind of have gamed it. They feel like there's probably one of the competitive game, or they calling themselves the gamers,
yeah,
there's probably one of them in the lot there. So if he can give up Parvati, maybe it takes some of the, okay, they've got a survivor player. We don't
yeah,
need to chase the gamers so hard because maybe that fulfills the quota. Like, if he gives up Parvati,
mm,
you know what I mean? Um,
yeah,
but I think giving up Parvati is harder than it is harder than easier said than done at the moment because he seems to be the one that's sort of in most trouble. It looks like.
yeah, and I personally think that him and Parvati are a great duo together. They're working extremely well. But I think, putting Parvati's name out there, it's going to be much easier than putting Phaedra's name out there.
Nobody likes her.
Yeah, because yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, apparently nobody likes Parvati, but Phaedra hasn't done anything to make people like suspect her or question her. And which part I
Yeah,
think the murder on Tamra was actually extremely smart on Phaedra's part as well.
yeah, because it took, especially considering coming off of the last episode where the potential clash between Parvati and Phaedra was by throwing shade or throwing a spotlight on the Desperate Housewives. So
Mm,
if one of the Desperate Housewives is killed, then it
yeah,
wasn't, they're not the traitors, kind of thing, and it kind of adds to it. Like, I think someone said it in this episode that it might have been CT, but someone was saying they just don't see or maybe Janelle actually.
yeah.
Can't remember.
I think it's Janelle.
Janelle,
Yeah,
the Desperate Housewives just do not have the strategy, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and which is so great because Phaedra's sitting there like, you know,
yeah, yeah,
golden in the sun, just chilling in this like completely hidden. amongst the scary gamers of Dan and Parvati, casting big shadows to hide in.
Like I know that there always needs to be like minimum of two traders, but I think if Phaedra was the only trader, I think she makes it all the way to the end. Like
Yeah.
hands down, because I think Dan's time is pretty much up. I think Parvati could potentially be the next trader out, but no one's coming after Phaedra. Not once has anyone thrown any suspicion on Phaedra.
No, and it's even like it's almost like the perfect amount of hidden, because someone
Mm,
like a Bergie or a John, where they said there's no chance of them being a traitor, like you would almost go, well, they're so untrader like that maybe the producers might throw a spanner in the thing and
mm,
actually pick someone. But someone like Phaedra is just dead smack in the middle. Like no
yeah,
one's thinking about her as an outside chance. No one's thinking about as an on, like an odds on favorite at like one of the gamers. She's just kind of there and not
yeah.
being a threat at all. And it's pretty fascinating to watch actually.
Yeah, and let's quickly talk. At the start of the episode where we were left on a massive cliffhanger. Gohenda, where Parvati and Phaedra do have this blow up, and Phaedra's like, nobody likes you, Parvati. Everyone thinks that you're a traitor, and it really did seem like that there's going to be this huge like traitor argument. Like, were you surprised that it only lasted for like 5 seconds, and then they were completely all good?
No, I think no, I'm not surprised because I think like Phaedra's to me anyway, she seems smart. She
Yeah,
knows like causing that kind of ruckus is not a good thing to do, so she's being smart about it. But she's still making it clear to Parvati, like, don't don't mess with me. Like
yeah,
she'll bite. She'll stand up for herself. Don't bring it my way. If we're doing this, we're doing this, but don't play games with me. And I really, really dug that. And Parvati seemed to like take it on board as well. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's not like she really stood up. She was like, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean anything by it. Blah blah blah. And I think Phaedra got to sort of establish herself a little bit more in the group and not let
mm,
the gamers sort of overtake, which she
yeah,
hasn't anyway. But she's also put her foot down. Do not mess with me. Do not try to come for me. Do not put shade on my name. Which I appreciate her putting that out there. I like that. She says, "You want to go to war, we can, but let's be cool and kind of keep the
yeah.
peace."
And I mean, obviously for Phaedra, I think it was like genius that she had taken out, Tamra over Sandra, because those are the two main options for the murder.
Mm.
Do you think that this was the right move for Dan and Parvati as well, for Tamra to be taken out?
Um, I'm not sure actually. I'm not sure how they got that over the line as well and made
Mm,
that choice because I didn't see, as you said, I think it works really well for Phaedra. Like it took
yeah,
like coming off of that round table where the spotlight was put firmly on the housewives to have a housewife go home. Looks really good for Phaedra. I don't know what benefit it gives to Dan and Parvati because Tamara didn't feel like a threat at all. Like
yeah,
Janelle feels like a real gamer. She is. She's one of the big brother, whatever. But she
yeah,
seems like she's getting it. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Like Tamara did not feel like a threat in the game. Did not feel like much of an entity at all. I don't know why she became the target from a Dan and Parvati point of view. What do you reckon?
yeah. I mean, I think it was a classic case of they gave it to Phaedra, and it was between Sandra and Tamara. And I potentially think that Sandra is maybe a really good ally to both Dan and Parvati at this stage in the game. Like we saw that, she's all good with CT. And so I think, when it's between someone who you're allied with and then, someone who you're not really allied with, maybe you kind of just let Phaedra have this one just because of the previous round table.
Yeah, just
that it
as a
had.
smoother as a peace offering.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just quickly look at some of the cheeky comments here, Mad Dog Kahuna. From Lovable Nikki, I agree. Phaedra is on no one's radar, so he'd have to do too much work to get her out right now. Yeah, absolutely. I think Phaedra's playing a very under the radar game, and I think it will be a long time before everyone starts suspecting Phaedra, perhaps even the in game.
There's
So
so many people that you would think would be ahead of her, like in the pecking order, right? Like as far as traitor vibes or fear. Like I don't
yeah,
know what criteria they do, but just in the general ethereal, like are they a traitorness?
mm,
Phaedra would be down the list. There'd be a lot of people ahead of her, I think.
yeah, absolutely. Parvati ate up Dan. Yeah, so in the towers at the end of the episode, Kahuna, we get a chat where, well, I mean, let's quickly talk about it now, right? Where Mad Dog Pistol Pete, right? Everyone's perceptions of him
Mm.
was very low coming into the season. He's just a bachelor. What strategy does he know? All he knows how to do is just hand out roses to a very beautiful woman and then just marry one of them by the end, right? Where's the strategy in that? Well, this man gave his roses to us this episode, Kahuna, where he comes up with a great plan where he obviously it was Bergie and was it Bergie and Janelle who found the shield? It was, right?
Um, ye-
No,
no,
Trishelle. It was
Janelle,
Trishelle.
yeah, Trishelle, and Janelle was
Yeah.
with Pete.
With Pete, that's right, that's right. So it was
Yeah.
Berg and Trishelle. They found the shield, but they decided that as an outsiders, for people who are outside, that they'll keep it a secret. But Pete tells the people who he's most suspected of, which is CT, Parvati, and Dan, that actually he has the shield, right? Seeing if they'll take the bait on going after Bergie. And we do see that Dan wants to take out Bergie. What's
Yeah.
your thoughts on Pilot Pete at this point?
I mean, yeah, like who said it? Sandra said, I think that they teach you that at pilot school, like
Yeah,
the strategy at pilot school. Like it was clever move. I'm really interested the fact that he picked CT, Dan, and Parvati as his suspects, like the three in the gamer sort of group, and dropped it with them. I'm really hoping that, like, because he's right, but I'm hoping he's not wrong in his rightness and this lands on CT instead of Dan.
Mm,
It doesn't feel like it. Like he seems to be centered on Dan, focused on Dan a lot. And as I said, like not only was this when I said earlier that the net seems to be tightening around Dan, this is just another one of those things is that Pilot Pete sort of got his feelers out and has at least got some data back
yeah.
on what to do. Does he think it's Parvati? Does he think it's CT? Does he think it's thing? Because
Mm,
yeah, if Dan saying like he's gonna pick Bergie is such a weird, like he really believed Pete, right?
yeah, he really did. Yeah, which Parvati even brought up there, like, oh, because he told me the exact same thing, but in a separate private convo. So obviously he's
Yeah.
lying.
So he's lying, right? Obviously.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
and then
Like, it's very obvious. It's like, but nah, I got to go for Bergie. Like he's not playing it safe. Mad Dog Dan wants to go for the risk. Like it's such a shame that Chris isn't here, Kahina, because I would have loved to see Chris dive deep on how this is a genius plan by Dan, because the way Chris loves Dan is the same
no,
way
it's
that loves Sneaky
not.
Steve and Rogue, right? It's yeah, I would have
Parvati's got it right there. She said we have to
yeah,
pick, like we can't risk it. You got to just pick someone on the inside of the
yeah,
castle. You can't even risk a shield getting in the way and blocking, that sort of thing.
yeah.
Yeah, Pete, that was a smart play by Pete.
Yeah. Do you think that Pete is gonna clock Dan in this move? Like, do you reckon if Dan does go for Bergie, and obviously it fails because Bergie's got the shield, do you think that is enough for Dan to be out of the game?
I mean, it's one of three.
Yeah,
It's one of three, right? And he's got two. He's got two out of the three in his sights. Like he could take a shot, like randomly, and get a 66% chance here. Like
yeah,
I don't know. Like I'm thinking he's leaning most towards Dan. Like
yeah,
Dan's looking sus to people already. So yeah. Uh,
yeah. Let's quickly say hello to a few other people in our chat. Kiwi Skirt, welcome to the live, and Jesse John Villamiro. Sorry for my pronunciation. Fader's playing the best game right now, but Dan might throw it under the bus next week. I think we already talked about it. I think if Dan throws Phaedra under the bus, it's much harder to actually convince people to get on board that train. But if he throws Parvati under the bus, I think more people would actually consider putting Parvati's name up. What's your thoughts on
The
that?
thing is as well, if either of them catch a sniff, if Parvati suspects Dan's trying to play sneaky buggers at all,
Mm.
um, he's so much easier to flip. Like
Yeah,
if she decided to, I think with one or two words here and there, like people are just waiting to pull the trigger on Dan. I think, especially
yeah,
now with Pilot Pete in the mix, if she turns on him too, like I think she has to now as well, right? If they miss here, and we don't know, but if they do go a Bergie
mm.
and they walk into breakfast, a Bergie or Trishelle with. Trishelle's not on the menu at the moment, but if Dan gets his way, goes to Bergie, he walks in. Not only do they have to play like, oh, like what's going on, but
Mm.
Parvati knows that Pete has floated that. She said
Yeah,
he's obviously lying. He's put it to both of us. So she's gonna have to come and go, hey, like you were right. Like you came like I don't know, like how do you play that? Like you told me you had it. What's
yeah,
I don't like I'm not
yeah. Like,
sure. Like it's a really interesting play that Pete's done here. It puts them in a hard spot by actually putting it on both of them that they have that knowledge now. Because when you have that knowledge, what do you do with it?
yeah, yeah,
Like how do you
exactly.
play it?
And I definitely do think, like if this plan of Pete works out, then I definitely think that Dan is gone.
Yeah.
Like I can see Parvati potentially going before him, but I think there's already too much suspicion on Dan, and this would be like the cherry on top.
Mm.
I mean,
What do
because
you Yeah.
oh no, sorry, after you.
No, please keep going.
I was just gonna say because like, how else can Dan really get out of this? Like, what cards does he really have?
I don't know. Like I said, he has to sacrifice Parvati. He has to give up
Yeah,
Parvati. But like I said, if she suspects at all, if she has any suspicion that Dan's trying to backstab her, then she can easily drop bombs. I think like
mm,
he's right on the like tipping point, and if she like adds a little bit of fuel to that fire, because I think she's actually protected him a little bit. Like there's been conversations where she's kind of directed away from him, but also just by being there, she's another suspicion away from him or a little bit of a meat shield. If she
yeah,
then turns on him and actually adds fuel to it, adds a little bit of momentum to the anti-Dan sentiment, then I think she's got more than enough to push it over the edge.
yeah, absolutely. Comment here from Snuffed. All the murders over them bananas have been very safe. Yeah, that is true. That's something I've noticed. Where I feel like bananas was the only murder that was ever like, we've got to get a threat out, whereas all the other murders have been like, what is the safest way that doesn't put any target on us, but also like puts a lot of confusion on people? Because if you're a
Well, I
traitor,
think Marcus was very targeted. Like
mm,
Dan, like it was one conversation, but Marcus called him out and says, "Hey, I don't like how you do it. You don't say anything," and then
yeah,
Dan, took him out. So that was very. That's why I said before that he feels like he's doing the right thing by playing it to his game, but in doing so, it leaves a trail. Like it feels like it's a little bit too signature based. So then after
yeah.
that, it did sort of get mixed up, I guess, with Tamra. Was only Tamra? Yeah, that's it,
Tamara
right?
and Ikensu, my dearly beloved
Ekansu,
Ikensu.
but Ekansu wasn't by Dan. I guess Ekansu was kind of random. I
Mm,
don't think Harvard even would have chosen Ekansu as just opportunity, murder by opportunity.
yeah, I mean, because if you're a trader, because we've seen many different styles of trader gameplay, do you kind of do what Dan is doing and you just actively target people? Because we saw that with Sam, where it's like in Traders Australia, where people who are quite suspicious of Sam, he would actively target them,
Yeah.
or do you just sort of take out the, what's it called, sort of like the cannon fodder, really, and just try and create as much confusion as possible.
I feel like you got to take out the people that would be the biggest threats, right?
Yeah,
But are they the biggest threats? Like, are they obviously the biggest threats to you? So, like, we always say, like, they always say on the show, like, once they get called out, you can't
mm,
then attack them because it's obvious that you did. So the traitors
yeah,
then target them because it looks like someone else. You know what I mean? Like, you plant
yeah,
suspicion and blame elsewhere. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. Pilot Pete really like impressed me with that. It can really explode, and I'm hoping Dan does go for a Bergie. I hope he gets his
yeah,
way and misses, because it feels like it's just one of those, like, hubris, pride cometh before the fall. Like, he trusted his read so much on Pete when Parvati's telling him to his face, and he's like, no, like, I know what I'm doing. I want Bergie. And then for it to backfire, I really, like, I'm hoping that that's the outcome here. It would be just such fascinating TV.
yeah. And yeah, we've got a comment here from Snuff. Dan can be that stupid to fall for Peter's bluff, surely. But I mean, I think you guys are forgetting that Peter is a bachelor. All right, he knows how to play the social game, right? He knows how to hang out with a lot of different, very beautiful people, really sweet talk them, so then everyone thinks that they're his number one.
Yeah.
But then he gets rid of one of them each week, right? And I think maybe Peter's done a great job socially integrating himself, especially as a faithful as well. Because not only do people not only aren't they not expecting it from him to be a traitor, but I think that's really just like helped him move forward in the game, so people just won't suspect he's a traitor.
Yeah. I also really like that the people that he's surrounding himself, he is confident. He says, I know they're not traitor. And he's looking at it and going, like, they're not traitor material. Whether he's seen the show
Mm,
before or not, I'm assuming he has, because he's right. Like, when he looks at a John, when he looks at a Bergie, like, no producer would ever go, I'm going to pick these
yeah.
dudes to be a traitor. You know what I mean? So you can go and surround yourself with them and build your alliance with them, because you know with almost certainty that like, they're not even in the equation. Like, you know what I mean? Like, some of the others you might go, maybe they are, maybe they're not, but some of these guys are just like, nah, there's zero
Mm,
chance. So then he attaches himself to them to build his little alliance of the non threats, which is was good to surround you with. You know what I mean?
yeah. We do have a comment here. Hi guys, just woke up 6:15. Go catch live. Thank you so much for coming here. Really
Good
early
morning.
hours in the morning. Good morning. Good morning. And we do have a very interesting comment here. Dan's fault is underestimating other players and failing to adapt. So here's like a really interesting um like argument I'd love to have with you, Kahuna. Obviously, with Dan, he came out of retirement to come and play this game, right? He played the 2 seasons of Big Brother. He did extremely well, pulled off very phenomenal moves. Have you seen his seasons of Big
No,
Brother? Okay, good, because
just
I haven't either.
by reputation. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you have like that massive of a reputation, right? Like everyone sees you as one of the best. Like you walk around thinking that you are one of the best, and you come into a game like this. Do you think that exposes you to being outplayed by players who you just don't think is on your level? Like even just by like the smallest things.
So he would. I mean, maybe it depends on the person. Like, we're talking about people that are in, as much as it's reality competition show. Like, these are people that have been multiple seasons of television. Like, there's a
Mm,
certain level of ego that comes with
yeah,
that. You know what I mean? And the fact that he's won once, came second the other time, and is considered one of the greatest. He gets in and sees that he's playing with Bling Dynasty and Desperate Housewives, and
yeah,
that sort of thing. Maybe he does think he's a little bit above it and he's playing it a little bit sloppy, but I don't know. I just think, like, the Traitors is such a hard game to game, like,
mm,
to meta out, to strategy out, and he's trying really hard to do that. But when you go off of, like, feelings and vibe and like the smallest thing, it's hard to dodge that sort of thing, you know. And the whole thing so far with Dan, obviously Pete laying a trap gives actual realistic and verifiable information between CT, Dan, and Parvati. But outside of that, it's just been, you don't say enough. You're too
Yeah,
quiet. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like even if he was gamed up to play this game and he's not rusty and past it when you're saying that sort of thing, like you're talking about, oh, so I didn't say enough and now I'm screwed.
yeah,
Like it's such a weird criteria to go out on. You know what I mean? Like it's you can't predict the sort of thing when the whole thing the whole thing is based on vibes.
yeah. We do have a comment here from Loveful Nikki praying for Dan's downfall at the next roundtable. Well, not gonna lie, Kahuna, I'm also kind of on that bandwagon because here's the thing, right? Every time we do one of these reality TV shows, it's always my favorites that get taken out really early, right? But Chris's favorites somehow always goes very deep. So if Dan gets taken out early, we're going to see next week. Chris is going to be the one crying. It's not going to be me. I've already had my moment, right? I've already moved on. It's fine. But Chris will be the one that is sad. I will you be excited for that as well?
I think the bigger message that you need to, if we're analyzing it and look a little bit deep, just take one step deeper, Mucky. The bigger message is that you said Chris's picks always go far, and my picks, my favorite people, always go out early. I think there's a message in that. Like
Yeah.
maybe the people that you like are not good at the
Well,
things that they're doing.
or maybe all of Chris's favorites have been rigged from the start. He knows the spoilers of the seasons, or he knows who goes deep and who doesn't. We do have a comment here as well by Aaron. If Traitors tried to murder Bergie, it would be the first attempted murder due to the shield. No, there was one murder in Traitors New Zealand. I believe there was one in Traitors Australia as well.
Yeah, I think so.
It? Yeah,
Yeah.
in Traitors Australia as well. So it'll be the first for USA, but not for international. But let's move on to the challenge, Kahuna. So everyone hops outside and they have to split up into two teams. You have an outside team where they have to run to all the different spots with the bird sounds, and the inside team who has to match the sound with the with the bird that's inside. If you're playing this, I mean, once again, I feel really stupid for asking you this, just like the hiking question in our last book for podcast. Are you going to be in the inside
Yeah,
team?
like Sandra and Phaedra. Inside team.
Yeah,
Inside team.
Like, you're not even worried about the shield or anything?
I mean, if I'm in the game, you're probably going for the shield. But I don't know which one I want to do. Is I would have been like who was it? I think it was Bergie or someone like just completely cracking up when they're doing the bird sound.
Yeah.
Like it was so good to build in a challenge where they'd be like, caw, caw, caw. And Alan's just watching them run around the castle screaming. And again, any challenge where you can get John like being frantic and running around like with a chicken with his head cut off is just television gold. I love seeing that little dwarf run around.
Yeah, and it was so funny because even when I'd given the answers to Alan, like it felt like a narration from John. It's like the bird is kind of like a David Attenborough with all the answers. I really loved this challenge, and I loved that it was Kevin and someone else. Who was partnered up with Kevin? Was that Janelle and how they got lost?
Yeah, no, it wasn't Janelle. Janelle was with Pete. It was
Was
it
Kevin?
MJ?
It must have been MJ. Yeah, it must have been MJ. And how they went out, running to try and find the shield, and they got lost
They got lost.
trying to find the shield. And then you have people.
Yeah, it was Shreya.
Oh, it was Sheree? Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
And I just loved how like they get lost trying to find the shield, and then you've got the people on the inside going, "Green team, we haven't heard from you."
That's also why I give a little bit of extra props to Pete, because he was aware of the fact that they were taking a while and got lost. and he turned that into, if we've taken ages, they'll believe that we've got the
Mm,
shield. Like we went for the shield. That's why, like when someone said before, do you think they'll believe Pete's bluff? I think it works because he built it off the back of, we took ages. Like we were the
yeah,
last one to call in a bird sound, and like we were gone for a while, so they must assume that we were looking for the shield. So that sort of added a bit of cover to his story, which I think was pretty smart to pick up on that.
yeah. Have you got a favorite bird by any chance?
Cassowary.
A cassowary. What type of bird is that?
Yeah, the cassowary is an Australian dinosaur that basically looks like a velociraptor
Oh,
that
wait,
eats.
that's right. We were looking at this the other night. That's right. That's right. That's right.
It stands at about 6 foot, has razor
Yeah,
blades on its feet, a giant like horn on its head.
yeah.
Um, and
And
I think there was this report recently that it killed a man in Florida. That was, Florida man's story, which is always great. They're trying to keep a bird like a cassowary. It's tough. It's tough. Or that one in New Zealand that John Oliver did.
John Moa or Kiwi?
No, no, no. He got, there was a competition last year to make for Bird of the Year or something, or the official
Okay.
bird of New Zealand. And John Oliver influenced it and made this really weird, the Tiki Tiki bird or something, made it the bird of the year.
It's a tick bird. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
going to look that
some New Zealand bird.
because for those who want to know more about our thoughts and opinions on the dinosaur bird in Australia, what's your channel called? Is it just Kahuna
Kahuna
Vision?
Vision. Kahuna Vision.
Check out Kahuna Vision, where Kahuna and I the other day talked about Sasquatches, mystical creatures, and this dinosaur bird as well. We do
All one
live
word.
reaction. Yeah,
Kahuna Vision.
Kahuna Vision. Yes, it was a great chat, and we're probably going to do some more in the future as well. So I highly recommend checking that out. But we do have a surprise entrance here, actually, Kahuna.
Yeah.
Where like I saw some rumors online about a player potentially entering in, but I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. But then they did. They brought back Kate.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on them bringing Kate in quite late into the game?
I don't know why. Like, I was a bit meh on it. I was like, I guess she was entertaining because she caused a little bit
Mm,
of havoc and ruckus by not doing challenges and stuff. But it's not like she was some force of traitor detecting power. She was just a bit of a bitch and got on people's nerves and called it as she saw it. So
yeah,
it's good entertainment, but I don't understand the need to bring her back in. Like, she's not like she's an expert, like on Survivor, they would have returning players as seen as more of an expert player.
mm,
As a veteran, I don't see her as being advantaged or any better off in this by coming in late and being on a second season. But I don't know why. Like, what do you
yeah.
reckon of it?
I was a bit like, wait, who is this again? And I had to go back and relook at the cast of Tracy season one to actually remember who she was. And pretty much the same as you, I was like, oh, okay, so she started drama here and
Yeah,
there. Yeah, but it's like, but that's literally it. Like, it's not
yeah.
like she was like a massive traitor hunter or something, like,
Exactly. Yeah. Like if
yeah,
she was voted out too early, and she deserved that second shot, or she was really on the right track and got taken out, whatever it is, it was, she was just
mm,
there, like, and caused drama. So I
yeah.
don't
And a
know.
great comment here. I don't know how I feel about Kate being back has happened on any other versions, not of the Traitors, but I do know it happened on Australian Big Brother one time. It's the only season of Big Brother I watched, and that's the one with Luke, where they brought on a past player who was like a massive player, like in the previous season, sort of halfway into the game. But I'm not sure how I feel about Kate coming back in this late because, like, I mean, it's obvious that she's not a traitor because they haven't gotten any of the traitors out,
Yeah.
and it's like she's just such an easy murder. Like, why don't they just murder her?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think because she will always be an easy murder. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's just, you kind of know. And I mean, would she even be a good recruit? Like, to maybe throw someone off the scent so hard to get someone laid in and then recruit them, or
mm,
would they think that she's in to be recruited? As a trader, like, I don't understand the benefits of it beyond drama. But so far, she's chill anyway.
Yeah.
Like, like
It was quite funny, like with her and Kevin having a small back and forth at the round table, where Kevin's like, "Okay, how I want to do this is I want to say my piece," and everyone
yeah,
just listens. And then she's like, "Wait, who's that guy again?" And he's like, "Hey, Kate, are you
not
listening?"
listening. And she goes, "You want to vote for her? I got it. I understand it all. It's fine."
Yeah,
Kevin's a weird one, man. He was hard on the Janelle train, man. Like,
yeah, he was really hard. I almost felt a bit bad for Janelle because I feel like she did have some traction going, but I
yeah.
feel like the second that she started throwing out names, that's when her game started unraveling. Yeah, she threw out CT's name, Dan's name, and Sandra's name. Like, I feel like for the banishment, just only throw out one name.
Well, we've said before on Australia, I feel like the meta would be to, as soon as you know who the traders are or have a pretty good suspicion of who they are, you kind of want to not get them out and be
Yeah.
and cast suspicion their way and but befriend them and sit in their little protected, protection kind of thing. So it's an
Mm.
interesting approach anyway, for sure, that Janelle, unfortunately, I think she kind of brought it on herself by being, like I said, that balance, that really delicate, intricate, fine line that you dance between too quiet and too loud. And she went over the too loud. Like, she was throwing out too much to the point where it made people suspicious.
Do you think as well that like it was a series of events that also made people be very suspicious of her? Like right from the start, she was she was probably like a really selfish faithful. Just the amount of times that she would rush out to grab the shield
Yeah,
before doing
bolted
anything.
for it.
Yeah. She also had that fight with like your Ikensu for a shield as well, and even like after the challenge, like, I really like this moment as well. After the challenge, Ellen is like, "Does anyone want to confess they have a shield or keep it a secret?" And Janelle goes, "As a team, we want we want to keep the shield a secret." And I feel like when you just really put yourself in that leadership position, especially someone who's been quite selfish, racing off to grab shields left, right, and center, I think this creating enough suspicion on you already, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah. I also feel like she was maybe, like, it goes too far. Like, in my own head, like, it's such a weird thing, but in my head, I'd be like, okay, she's going too hard or so hard that a trader would not be trying to be that obvious. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, she's acting really obvious and selfish right now, maybe too suspicious, but it's so suspicious that a trader would be like, oh, look, maybe have a little bit of caution. And she didn't. She threw caution to the wind and just came out swinging. Um, and right in her her thoughts and her suspicions are correct, so her instincts are right, but she just couldn't get the people across the board because she just felt a little bit too full on, I think, especially in comparison to Dan, who is so cool, calm, and collected.
We do have a couple comments here. Kevin was too much at the round table. I did not like how he was talking to people. I mean, I don't. I just found it really funny. Like like Kevin's gameplay is so out there and is so weird. Like I even loved it. I think it was yeah, it was after Ekansu had gotten poisoned. He was like, "Well, I didn't
I
drink
ate so
anything."
much.
Yeah, so much. What's up, guys? Here, like Kevin is hard to watch. Lot. I don't know. I find it really funny. I really do. Something that I miss from shows like Survivor is just people making really bad gameplay decisions,
Mm.
and people who obviously don't know the game that well and whatnot. Like that's what I love about Traitors, that people are so convinced it's someone, even if it's like quite obviously not them, like Lhasa, but they just go so hard at it, and it's always just so funny to watch.
I love that Kevin has already multiple times, and I think multiple people have said Kevin is just too stupid to be a traitor. Like, that
Yeah,
he's just got a reputation of they all know he's dumb. Like,
yeah,
when people are saying it out loud, like, how dumb are you coming across? Like,
yeah,
to be that obvious that people are, like, calling him out on television. Um,
yeah.
And again, he makes up that little crew of Bergie, John, and Kevin that Pete's kind of gone, these three idiots, no one is, there's no chance that they can be traitors, so I'm going to be around
Yeah.
them. I kind of dig that Kevin falls into that group.
Imagine if that's the final four of the show. Like, can you actually believe that? Like, if there's like at the very end, it's Pilot Pete, Mad Dog Kevin, Legend John, and Bergie.
John Legend. That'd be amazing.
That'd be
That'd be
fantastic.
absolutely amazing.
Um,
Yeah.
Peter's done. He said he and Janelle had the shields to shoot in time. I don't think so. I think that
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, what Snuff said in the next comment, I don't think the shield protects you from banishment. It's only from
No, it's
murder.
only from murders. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
love it
from
when
this,
he confirms. Yeah, shields don't protect from banishment. There
yeah.
was in the Australian version in season 1 a super shield where they had to do a separate challenge. Like the first 3 to finish the
Mm.
thing can then do a separate shield challenge, and then
Mm.
that gets a shield which was for both banishment and murder. But
Oh, okay.
this one is only banishment. It's a little bit easier to get. You just have to run off in the other direction for 2 minutes. Like you can't get immunity from the safety from banishment as well, just for the simple way they get the shields as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of like the shields so far? Because I quite like how open all the shields have been. It's like, yeah, here's a challenge. You don't have to do a challenge and then randomly see if you're going to get the shield or not. It's like the shields are right there.
Mm.
If you want to grab them, you can. Otherwise, just do the mission. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it adds a level of complexity and strategy, because one of the things that about the random pick in the armory or whatever of the shields was like automatically they knew the meta was like to shut up, don't say
Yeah.
anything. But this, you have to kind of put your cards on the table. Do people know that you have it? Protect yourself that way. And this was the first time we've seen that not play out, in that they could hide if they actually got the shield or not.
Yeah.
And the first time that was really a viable option, Pete throws out a new strategy with it and uses it to his advantage. So that's really cool. I'm hoping there's other chances where they might be able to use shield play in different ways. Because so far it's just, I went and got it because I want protection and I'm safe and I'm good, and they come out and they go like, that's the first time I slept okay, things like that.
Yeah.
So it's important to get, but I'm hoping that it can be used more strategically than just straight up protection for one individual. Like, how can it be used more advantageously?
Yeah. Is there anything else from this episode that we haven't covered?
I guess we could. What do you think is actually going to happen here, like prediction wise? Because they left it on a cliffhanger again. Is it going to be Bergie? Is it going to who are the other options that they kind of left it with? I know Bergie for Dan, and they wanted Phaedra and Parvati wanted someone else.
I think it was Kevin.
Kevin.
Was not? Yeah. Well, I mean, there is some insider information. Did you watch the next time on?
Was it straight after? I don't know. Maybe I didn't.
It was straight after. Yeah.
I didn't then.
You didn't? Okay. Well, I won't really talk about it then, but they did actually spoil what happens.
Oh, really? Go do it.
Are you sure?
Well, it's part of the thing, right? Well, actually, okay. I don't know. Is it spoiler alert if it's actually in the actual?
Yeah, it was on the next time on. It was an overhead shot of the round table, and you can see who.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. I did see that.
Did you see that?
Yeah. So that means they did go for Fergie, isn't it? Because he was there.
Because he was there. And if you count everyone,
and it wasn't an old shot. Janelle's not in it. Like, it wasn't an old.
I believe she's not. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay. No, it's not spoiled anymore. Okay. Yeah. No. So obviously they did take the shot at Bergie, and
there you go.
So I feel like this is it for Dan.
It has to be, right? Unless, like I said, Pete extrapolates and does his calculations and lands on a CT or a Parvati over Dan. But I do think everything points to Dan. And when Bergie walks in and both Parvati and Dan are like, oh shit, they're going to realize that they got done by Pete. I think Parvati, the move is you have to actually go to Pete and say, like what? Again, I asked before, what is the approach there? Like, how does Parvati play that off? Like,
Yeah.
be like, I guess it
I've,
doesn't matter, right? Like, you can go,
yeah.
oh, was it you? Like, you told me you've got it and you're safe. Maybe they must have tried to murder you,
Mm,
right? Like, you go to
yeah.
Pete and go, like, they had to have a shot at you. Everyone's still here. You've got the thing, and pretend that you still believe him. Like, that's the way you
Yeah.
got to play it off, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And then maybe just sort of sweet talk your way into being like, did you tell this to anyone else? And then just wait
Yeah.
for Peter to give a name. Puff has to act like she doesn't remember. Yeah, probably. Yeah, so I think both our predictions are pretty much the same. That Dan is gone next episode.
Yeah, I'd say so. If Pete's smart enough here, again, like I said, Dan could do the same thing, right? Like the whole thing of this game is based on mafia or
Mm,
werewolf, and the whole purpose of that game, it was designed specifically to back up a dude's thesis that a small minority with information over an uninformed majority will always win,
yeah.
right? So Dan, as soon as Bergie walks in and they realize, fuck, well, shit, like we missed that. Um,
Yeah.
he has information that other people don't have, and anytime you have that information, he may be able to weave a way out of it. Like I said, I would go to Pete and go, that means they tried to take a shot at you. You've got the
Mm,
shield. Like they both have to do it, and the first one there, or they both play it off that way. You know what I mean? Like, and then CT cops it, but because CT
yeah.
doesn't know, he doesn't know what's going on. He might think the same thing, but he doesn't associate the same urgency with getting to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you think? I mean, this was just a random thought I had in my head, but I don't see how it would help Dan. Do you think there's chance that Dan and Parvati could turn it on to Pete for making such a bold, aggressive move like that?
Turn it back on him, like as far as the getting him banished
Yeah.
or murder. Like they can obviously murder him at any point, but that would be dangerous as hell because he's dropped their names to a few people now. But I don't see how they can get it behind him, get it back on him because he's got that group of like dummies that he's surrounded himself with. Remember on the Australian version how Sam had Liam
Yeah.
and he would just do what he's got 3 of them now. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's multiple Liams that are just like,
Yeah.
and if he's smart enough to play them, he's not a traitor, he's a faithful person. So I think he knows he's got them in his pocket and he can sell it, especially when you've got such dangerous, scary people as a Dan looking
Mm,
so juicy and obvious. You know what I mean? Like that's such
yeah.
an easy sell. Poverty is a much easier sell than them turning everyone on Pete. Like, how do they
Yeah.
make that 180 turn on Pete when Pete's got quite a few people trusting him at the moment?
Yeah, and as you're talking, I sort of just realized that this move won't actually help Dan because I feel like Dan's whole thing is when I shoot, I don't miss, I get 100% right, and then
Mm,
if he gets a faithful out, it's sort of like, well, you've literally just
you
wasted
missed.
our time. Yeah.
See, but that could backfire the other way as well, right? Because
Mm,
he hasn't done anything so far. He hasn't thrown names out, and people are like, he's too quiet. He's not throwing names out. If he does throw a name out, and he does that thing of, I don't miss when I shoot, then people go, how do you not miss? Like, why did
yeah.
you not miss? We're throwing out freaking names all over the place, and we're missing because we don't know anything. But you say one name, you're quiet all
Mm,
season. You decide all of a sudden you want to take a shot, and boom, you know exactly who it is. Like that's a
yeah.
suspicious thing as well. You got to be careful
Mm,
of. And I'm worried Dan might be a little bit too like. I think what the vibe that I'm getting off Dan at the moment is that he's a little bit too black and white in
yeah.
his gameplay. And he's like, I'm doing it this way and this is gonna work. Whereas he's gotta go in between the grey a little bit more. I'm playing it quiet and then he's too quiet. And now I feel like he's going, I'm gonna turn it on a bit and he might go too hard as well. Like it's binary.
Mm,
It's not,
yeah.
it's one or the other. It's on or off. And it's a hard way to play when you need a little bit of nuance to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. But unfortunately, Kahuna, that is the end of our live stream. If you're new to the channel, smash that subscribe button down below and leave a comment on your thoughts on this episode as well. Do you think Dan's goose is cooked, or do you reckon he somehow makes his way out of it? Even though I haven't seen it, I've definitely heard many stories from Chris on how Dan has literally escaped the impossible before. And if you're into other content, we'll be recapping the first week of Australian Survivor as well, episodes 1 to 3. Have we got a set date for that, or is that just in the upcoming days?
It's gonna be on Thursday night.
Thursday
Same time, 9 p.m. Australian Daylight Savings Time, like 6 a.m. Eastern Standard American, I think, whatever it is. But that'll be Thursday night, Thursday morning, and then Saturday morning we have the challenge as well. So there's all the stuff on Nullified Take all the time.
Yes. Make sure you check the juicy content out. Have a great night or morning wherever you're from, and we will see you all next time. Wait, I don't have an end stream button. I think you're gonna have to end.
We're ending the stream now.
Okay. Okay.